Good afternoon. I hereby call this agenda review meeting of the NISD Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that a quorum is present and notice of the meeting was legally posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Board member Pastor James Irwin is unable to attend the meeting today. I'd like to remind everyone that all items on the agenda today are for discussion only. No action will be taken at this meeting. Please join us in turning off your cell phones to silent mode. Our interim superintendent, Mr. Fraley, is not here today, so I'm going to ask Mr. Martin, Deputy Superintendent, here to join us at the podium, if you will. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Public comment. Thank you for your interest in Acton ISD. We have set aside this portion of the meeting to receive input from the public regarding the items on the posted agenda. This is our transition plan in keeping with the newly adopted House Bill 2840. Each person desiring to speak must have already completed and submitted the proper public comments form. At this time, we do not have anyone registered to speak. Board, we will now move to the consent agenda. We will first discuss items from the consent agenda. So, board, are there any items on the consent agenda for questions or comments? Thank you, board.
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
if I may bring it to your attention,
Yes.
I believe that the investment reports on the consent agenda are last month's, and we are currently in the process of getting you this month's reports.
Okay. So we'll pull that information. Thank you, sir.
President Neal, it's the investment reports, the cash flow, and the bank statement reports
Okay.
that are last month.
Last month.
We're currently reprinting those. Do you want to revisit this towards the end of the meeting?
We could do that. We can come back
Okay.
at the end. Thank you, Ms. Fong. And by the way, our business officer report, Mrs. Balbrick is out attending a conference, and so Mrs. Fox, assistant, will be joining us today. So, Ms. Fox, will turn over to you our business office reports and budget amendments, if you would.
Okay. Good afternoon, Deputy Superintendent Martin, President Neal, and other board members. Our budget amendments are on page 21, and it's just the maintenance vehicles that were approved for last year's budget that were actually purchased in, we received them in July, and then just donations. Any questions?
Board, any questions on the maintenance?
Hang on, I don't know if this is the one that I was.
Board, any questions? On A, the maintenance vehicles or the donations for athletics and congregation. Again, we really appreciate our community's efforts to support our congregation and the donations that were given. We thank our community. Ms. Fox, will you continue now to donations under 2,500?
Yes, the donations are on page 26 of your board book. And we have donations from Carpenter, Regay, Nettie, Teaching and Learning, the high school, and athletics. Any questions?
We want to go back and thank our community for support of our groundbreaking activity at Emmeline Carpenter. What a wonderful event it was, and thanks for all the donations, the T-shirts, and the sponsorships from the community. Thank you, community, for your continued support. of the school district concerning donations at the other campuses. Board, any questions or comments on donations? On the investment report, you want to share that? Wait till you come back in. You want to share a portion of it?
I can, we contributed $2 million to our Texas class investment in September.
Okay.
And then we purchased a investment on, you can see on page 2.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. We may come back. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, downtown miscellaneous business office reports. Ms. Fox, we ask you to, in the miscellaneous business office reports. Board, any questions or concerns? I'll give you a few minutes to look through those, if you not have done so.
And those should all be in your board reports.
Do we have a projected time for the Martin Center? Demolition?
No, sir, not at this time. We do not. We're going to be running some tests to make sure that all materials in there, whether we will need to abate it before demolition. So time frame, no, sir, we don't have one at this time.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, Ms. Fox. Purchase is over $25,000, and we'll begin with the Boys and Girls Club.
Yes, we rent the Boys and Girls Club swimming pool for our swim team, and this is just, it's on page, the invoice is on page 87.
Is this the same amount we paid last time?
I know it's close. I don't know exactly. I can look that up and have it for Thursday's meeting.
Because last time I negotiated with them, they said for 10 years they will not change it.
I will look at that.
Go ahead, Mr. Morton.
Yes, sir, Coach Normand, it is the same amount as we did pay last year. We've been renting the center since 2002.
Yes, sir.
This year, we are going to have about 50 high school students participating, as well as 30 middle school. We'll have 4 meets for high school, and we'll have 2 for middle school, as well as we will host the district swim meet this year at the facility.
But there won't be any increase in what we're paying them
No,
anytime
not-
soon?
Well, not for this year.
Okay.
No, sir.
So when is that 10-year time
I
frame?
believe it was 2017, late
2017,
2017.
2017?
There is a swim meet this Saturday. It's on my calendar.
Great. We do, this is a great opportunity in our community to have the Boys and Girls Club and for the swim program. Our students have done well. You know, Coach may help me here. I know Coach Sproggins has been recognized several times for work leading that program, and we've had students that really performed well and done well, and I'm assuming moved on to college and swim programs.
And they are also very good students.
Great.
I'll throw in there that Mr. Kozad over at the Boys and Girls Club does an excellent job. I know I've been over there for some of the swim meets, and he's always made himself available to handle any technical issues or anything that comes up. So we appreciate the work of the Boys and Girls Club.
Thank you.
I think especially with our students, if you look at the statistics that they gave us on the night of the banquet, the impact that they have on our kids at NISD,
Yes.
they've done wonderful with our kids. It's a good place for our kids to go.
Thank you. Thank you, Board. Thank you, Ms. Fox. Next item is consideration of additional T appraisers. Mr. Morton, Mr. Whitaker has come in to join us. Yes, sir. Thank you, Ms. Whitaker.
President Neal, board members, Deputy Superintendent Martin, on page 88 of your board book, you have a list of personnel that are being recommended for approval as appraisers for the 2019-2020 school year.
So, Ms. Whitaker, these have all met the requirements as set aside.
Yes, sir, they have.
Board, any questions about the criteria?
Yeah, I'm just curious, the criteria that you utilized to fix these individuals, was it based on their time with NISD or their experience, or?
Sure, yes, sir. These listed personnel, they are new administrators, and so they went through the training of the T-test and the AEL training set forth by the state to meet the requirements for a T-test appraisal system.
So as an administrator, they get this training so that they're able
Yes, sir.
to use it? Okay.
Yes, sir. New administrators who come into the district, sometimes they perhaps may have the certification already, but if they do not, we work with them to get them certified, T-test certified for the year.
Okay. Are they compensated for this?
No, sir,
No.
the district pays for it.
The district pays?
Yes, sir.
Excuse me. Board, anyone else? Any more comments? Thank you, Mr. Whitaker.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Board, we now move to discussion and action agenda. We will now proceed with these items for discussion and action agenda only. First one is consideration of campus target improvement plans. Dr. Hill, thank you.
Good afternoon, President Neal, Deputy Superintendent Martin, and members of the Board of Trustees. Thank you very much. I have asked the principals to be here today so that they could speak specifically to their campus plans.
Thank you.
But these targeted improvement plans were required by the state, and it was for any campus that received a D in any of the accountability domains. And so within this process, they had to embark upon a self-assessment or a needs assessment. They also had to have public hearings on each of their individual campuses and receive public feedback, and then generate this plan. And so the plan, you'll see they're fairly lengthy with various components to each of them, but we'll pay particular attention to the prioritized focus areas and then how we have to formatively assess them in cycle 1, cycle 2, and cycle 3. So we'll begin with Mr. Miller. On page 90 is the BQJ plan. Excuse me, Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Neal, board members, Deputy Superintendent Martin. Thank you for allowing us to present this. First of all, nobody wants to have to do this, but after going through this process of the 6 different essential actions, I can tell you that it's been very helpful overall, and of course we chose 3 of them. One thing that we discovered was that going through this process was that we needed to have more voice from our staff and less top-down. I guess delegation is a good word for that, that maybe we were doing too much top-down. So on 1.1 was one of our essential actions that we felt that we needed to work on, and that was to develop campus instructional leaders with clear roles and responsibilities. And so what we felt like the rationale was that we tried to jump in wherever we were needed without any clear direction of where we were going. So I put together a plan of what everybody's jobs, responsibilities were, and kind of detailed, because we do have a large campus and many facets of it, we didn't want everybody running, and so teachers had a clear line of vision where they were to go. So one of the desired annual outcomes that we wanted was, instead of trying to solve the issues that are not outlined under other person job responsibilities, we refer individuals to the correct person responsible. And the barriers that we hoped that that would solve was strategically structuring the school day to ensure that the administration team can meet. So what we set up was every Monday at 8 o'clock our team would meet, and basically that was our assistant principals and myself, and every other week then we brought in the PEMS person and that type of thing. So we met this morning. So that was our first setup, and then 3.1 was our next. It was compelling and aligned vision, mission, goals, and values focused on a safe environment and high expectations. We have a pretty safe environment, but our expectations needed to be through our mission and goals. And so on that, our teachers and administrators are working together to move toward a language and culture that align with our mission, vision, and goals, and that is achievable through backward design, which is a great way to work on our lessons, all assessments and activities to ensure that the achievement with all students. And I brought the wrong one, so I wanted to, on the desired annual outcome, vertical alignment is supporting a collective sense of responsibility and ownership. So again, what we wanted to do is let everyone have a voice in what we were doing. So the barriers that we wanted to address this year is the mindset towards testing is currently being shifted so that all educators understand a pre-assessment or formative assessment does not have to be multiple choice or multiple pages. And I'm going to refine that a little bit more. That's what I needed. I'm sorry, I thought I had the wrong one there. So what we did, we put in team leads in there so that we could visit with them as a leadership team, and then they could go out to their grade levels and work with them on some specific needs that we had. 5.3, data-driven instruction. Put in there that currently there are a few pre-assessments that are conducted to identify gaps or misconceptions in content areas. So the desired annual outcome for that was a collaboratively meeting to utilize specific process for data-driven instruction that directly impacts planning and practice. And then for our barriers during the school year, getting in the habit of creating and conducting pre-assessments is going to be the biggest resource. This will create a functioning and working planning time as well. So every other week between 7:35 and 8:30, we meet with each grade level for their PLCs. They review the data. We go over any needs and pre-assessment, make sure that we follow up on and stay current with everything we do. And those teachers work collaboratively with each other to make sure that we have good high instruction. Thank you.
Board, any comments for?
My question is just, is your staff pretty receptive to what you guys are trying to establish there at Brooks Glenn Jones?
Yes, I think they're liking the fact that we're giving them a bigger role in playing. It's really hard for us. We've got a lot going on, but to cull out time for them to meet, I think has been very beneficial, and I think they appreciate it. Yes, sir. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Moore? Ms. Moore, as you share, will you refer to the page number? We can stay with you there. Are those page numbers on there? That's fine. That's fine. We're okay.
No, sir. Good afternoon, Board. President Neal, Mr. Martin, board members. It is my pleasure to come and visit with you today on our campus plan for improvement for the upcoming year. And just as the gentleman before me, our staff has pulled together to work on increasing our student achievement on our campus, identifying the needs of our students. And the plan that we have chosen to go with is to look at the areas that we showed strength and weakness and work with our team, leadership team, and other members of our campus staff to see what plan we could, that we could craft to build on the strengths of our students and our staff. We looked at the accountability goals and domains that needed some strengthening at Carpenter, and we looked at the areas that our students were doing okay in, and thought that if we had some things that pulled our scores down, and we looked at the areas of strength of our kids, and we saw that if we addressed the domains that they were showing strengths in, and worked to increase those scores in reading and math, that we could show growth over a year. So we're working to grow our students in a positive manner in the areas that we are showing strength with our teachers and with the curriculum that the district has put in place for the upcoming year that impacts reading and math and science. And we hope that we can show the growth, 1 year's growth by increasing domain 1. In our score this past year is 56%, in domain 2, 77%, in domain 2A, 83%, and domain 3, 68% scale score. And we want to see a 10% increase in those areas tested with our kids, from 42% to 52% in approaches, 13 to 23% in meets, and 6 to 16% in masters. And if we meet those academic growths, we'll be able to show, move from a 67% score to a 77% score. And to do that, we have been growing our teachers by meeting with the instructional staff weekly on their planning periods, planning their 6 weeks lessons with backwards design, and that is the strategy that the district has put in plan for us. We are monitoring our teachers in implementation of the curriculum. We're working with our novice teachers, because we have several novice teachers on our campus, making sure that they're implementing, number one, the discipline plan that the district has trained us in and is monitoring and supporting us in, and with, again, teaching the curriculum to fidelity. With several new teachers on our campus, it's very important. They need a lot of structure, a lot of support. We have a wonderful AP for curriculum that works with them and works with us. The plan that the state has in place for us to monitor ourselves and our progress is a wonderful way for us to know who needs help, how we can help them, and even the help that we need. So we are pulling our committees together, meeting on a weekly basis with the instructional staff, with the administrative staff, and then with a mixture of leaders on the campus. Because of our TIPS grant, we also have leaders in those positions that work with our campus plan and our implementation of it. So we're hoping for good results at the end of the school year. Do you have any questions for?
I'm just curious, in regards to the discipline plan at Carpenter, how effective is it, and is there room to make changes, or is it working pretty well?
It is a work in progress. We have several new staff members. So when you talk about our discipline plan, you're talking about how it impacts instruction, because everything goes back to instruction. This year, we worked with the principal from BQJ, and using the campus-wide discipline plan that he has in place, and I've worked with one in the past also, we have implemented a campus-wide discipline plan that give the teachers other strategies to use. It's built around a reward system for the students. Example, this is the end of the first 6 weeks. At the end of this week, we have targets in plan for classrooms that did individuals in classrooms that met their goals, and so they'll be able to choose gifts from the gift room or reward room that we have for them. We have those who have met their goals for attendance, and we have parties treats for them. So we have a lot of positives that we have identified that would help our kids manage their behavior, because that's what it gets down to, help giving them extra incentives to manage their behaviors, to be in class more. We also have awards assemblies to pull the parents in to help us in the celebration of them doing well on their behavior goals and their classroom academic goals.
Are you having success with the parents being part of the discipline issues for their children at school?
It's a work in progress.
Okay.
And I say that because these are kids, the majority of them are children with history of discipline problems, and sometimes it's training and educating the parents as we go along, because it's easy to say, if he says something to you, say it back, or put them in a defense, not being in the same role that we're in with the kids. And so it's a lot of it is educating the parents as we go along, trying to show them how not participating is better than always having a retort back, whether it's verbal or whether it's physical. So it's a work in progress. We do a lot of a lot of coaching parents on how to get a different behavior in place.
Many of us are very concerned about teacher preparation, teacher retention, teacher recruiting, and thank you for having a plan that covers all of those areas. We hope that plan is working better this year, and every year just gets a little better. So we thank you for letting us know about that.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Thank you.
Okay, Fredonia, I believe, is Weigel.
Did you pull up the page numbers? Is it 104, 104? Good afternoon, President Neal, board members, and Deputy Superintendent Martin. 104, somewhere around that page number,
What?
We're 120.
120.
120?
Yes.
Okay. Excuse me. All right, so I'm here to talk about Fredonia and to talk about our plan. So for us, we did a needs assessment, and we are targeting ourselves. Our goal is to improve in our Domain 1 for approaches, meets, and masters. We're going to increase each of those areas by 7%. And in Domain 2, we're going to push to do our student growth from 62% to 75%. And then our goal for TELPAS is to increase to 42%. So when I did our needs assessment and looked at our data, those were goals we set ourselves. And with that, that would put us back at a C, thank goodness, for our rating this year. In April, Region 7 came and did a site visit for us, and so they were already working with us to identify 3 areas for us to work on. So part of the system that my other campuses had to do, we were able to walk into that plan that was already presented to us, and we were already planning on targeting. So our 3 areas were very similar to Brooks Quinn. We are going to do data-driven instruction. And when Region 7 came and visited, our teachers were, like, we had started really digging into our data, but our teachers wanted more of what do I do with this data and how do I meet our needs of our kids in our scholar time. So we're going to be a very specific plan for looking at the data and then how to look at the content instead of kids. What content do we need to remediate, and then pull the kids into those plans. So we will start all that next week when we start doing vertical team meetings. We're going to, our second target area was developing campus instructional leaders with clear roles and responsibilities. And these are written responsibilities and goals. We're a fairly new administration team. Each year I've changed some APs. Each year I think I'm growing and moving people around. And so just finding our roles and responsibilities and who's responsible for what and where do our boundaries go, and kind of staying in those places. And then also challenged with aligning our vision, mission, goals, our values, and being on a safe environment and high expectations. And again, our environment is fairly safe, but making sure all stakeholders are for that high expectations. And that's also being very consistent with our rules and expectations in the classrooms. So those are our 3 areas. Highlights of what we have planned to go for this year is for growth goals for all of our classes. We had several that started it last year and was fairly strong, but we're going to push it to all classes, all contents. We are developing a reward system. We started Dragon 10, which is 10 of Ron Clark's 55 essentials and they're really just good skills for our kids to have in school and in our communities. And so we're going to build a reward system that when they're caught doing one of those things, that they get this reward and they build. And it's also when they're meeting their growth goals, and they'll also get a reward for that. So it's creating that positive environment and being able to catch them doing the right things. This year we're going to do a Throwback Thursday, which is the fifth Thursday of every 6 weeks. We kind of stop and we're going back to our really basic essential standards for the school year. And these are the ones that kids must have, that if you have these, then they're going to be high-valued goals for them, not just in elementary, but all the way through high school. And so on those days, we're kind of throwing out some hands-on, do it differently, get the kids really highly engaged with the activities. So hopefully that will spiral back some really high effective standards for us and get us our growth. Our PLCs this year, we're staying really focused on the 4 questions in the backwards design. What TEKS are we teaching? What content? How do we know if kids are doing it well? What happens when kids don't get it? And what happens with those students who do get it for our meets and master kids? So really staying focused on those 4 questions in our PLCs on Tuesdays. Vertical team meetings we'll do each 6 weeks, and that's where we take all math teachers for the campus. We're looking at our data, we're looking at our content so that we can create those plans of what to do next, looking at all students, and doing some vertical alignment so we're presenting materials the same all the way through. And then the administration has built a calendar to do our walkthrough so that we know that we're hitting all of our teachers each 6 weeks and really targeting those that need our support and being able to give them feedback. Some of the barriers that we came across that we identified was making sure that we've created a system. We've taught our teachers how to do this system and then also trying to implement it for our data analysis and then planning very specifically for our scholar time, which is our intervention time during the day. Making sure that we have written protocols for meetings so that we're being very consistent with how we're doing things. And that our new administration as a whole, all three of us, are working with being very clear on our responsibilities and making sure we're meeting our goals and holding each other responsible. And then consistently enforcing our expectation. Region 7 really challenged us that we've got some good things going, but making sure that everybody's on the same pace with us. And then being able to have our staff articulate and apply our campus vision and goals. For that, our desired outcome is, again, it's not only with raising our scores, but also so that our teachers are stronger planning in being able to deliver their content, and that we have very specific written roles and responsibilities, and that our systems are very consistent and can be seen without us having to just always remind each other what to do, and that our vision is a very common thread across our campus. Hopefully, with all these things in place, we will be able to run really smooth and our kids can excel. Questions?
Board, any questions for Ms. Weebo?
We support you. We support the administration of every school, and you will be successful because you're planning for it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weebo.
Thank you.
Next campus. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
I'm going back.
To the board president, Mr. Neal, to the board members, and Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Martin. I'm Lenora Foy. I'm filling in for Mr. Tim Mulligan for McMichael Middle School. And we did a self-analysis, a self-assessment, and some of our central actions that we needed to address to impact student learning. And we also looked at some of the essential actions that we've been doing currently. We did realize our focus areas, our priority areas, and the first one was 1.1, develop campus instructional leaders with clear roles and responsibilities. The rationale behind that is that our campus leadership team, we weren't meeting collaboratively to discuss instructional input that we were receiving from our PLC, so we have been doing so to correct that. We've been meeting in the mornings, going over our TIP plan, as well as also discussing the results from that. We've been assigned, our campus leaders have been assigned with core departments to foresee in our PLCs, as well as each grade level. So that is one way that we have corrected that action. Also, to make sure that we are sound in knowing what instructional information we need to know. Our campus instructional leader, she's been working with us as well to help us with that. Also, our priority focus area 2 was area 5.1, and that is objective data-driven lesson plans with formative assessments. So we've really been concentrating on that, what formative assessments that our teachers have been providing to their students, making sure our lesson plans do reflect that as well. We've talked about that and discussed that with our teachers during their PLC meetings. So after they give a formative assessment, within 2 days, we go in and we do discuss with them what their the status of their students, the improvement that they saw, where their needs are, individual students that we need to target and assist, if they if those students have any particular needs, special needs of any sort, 504. So we're making sure that we stay on target with that. Also giving our teachers a little bit of additional assistance, or as much assistance as needed, because some of them aren't aware as to what they need to know when we meet in those PLC meetings. So just providing input to them from that. And our third priority for our focus area was data-driven instruction. So we just want to make sure that our teachers are using data-driven process to help strengthen their instruction as well. We're incorporating and using our department heads more in those meetings when we do meet with those teachers as well. We made some great gains last year at McMichael, and so we just want to continue to foster that growth. We want to keep that momentum high, and so although we are asking more of our teachers and stretching them, we are asking for their input because we want it to be something that is driven by them and not just something top down, we said do this. So we're asking them what do they need from us, what kind of input do they need, because we do want to get to the next level, which will increase our ratings as well. That would mean student growth has increased. And so we just want to keep those milestones going at McMichael.
How do you balance, how do you balance that, expecting more from your teachers and trying to give them that support? That's got to be a little bit of a difficulty with the expectations.
It is a challenge, but just as we're asking them for more, they see that we're being asked more from ourselves, so as administrators, so they see that it is everyone is in. We're all a team. We do try to show that just in reflection of we're out there, we're working with y'all, so whatever you need, whatever support we can give you, we are trying to the best of our ability to make sure you get it. So.
That's good to hear. Thank you.
Board, any
Thank
questions?
you.
Any more? Thank you, ma'am. Dr. Rodriguez and Eddie Marshall. Okay.
Good afternoon, President Neal, Board of Trustees, Deputy Superintendent Martin. I'm here to talk about Eddie Marshall. And so I'm a numbers data person, and so when our assessment results came back in April, of course, as principal of our campus, I was not too pleased with them. So we did it, we started way back at the end of the school year. We did a program and instructional leadership structure analysis. We looked at all our programs. We looked at how we structured our teaching, how we structured our grades, our master schedule, our intervention programs, what resources we used. We spent all summer analyzing those things to help us better understand if we were getting the maximum for our bucks. After we did our self-assessment, we reviewed and prioritized two focus areas. One was the curriculum and assessment that's aligned to the TEKS and objective-driven daily lesson plans. And so once we understood that, we needed to sit down as a campus and figure out, these are great goals, but how are we going to ensure that these are carried out not just on a quarterly 90-day cycle, such as in our targeting program, but how we're going to do that on a daily basis and on a weekly basis. And so what we did was we reconstituted the whole way we monitor instruction on our campus. We created a structured administrative team that composed of our reading interventionists, math interventionists, our CAP, myself, and our RTI, LPAC person on our campus. And what we do is we meet every Monday from 9 to 10:30 to structure what our week is going to look like for each one of us. Because within our plan is showing that what is written is being taught and what is taught is being tested. And so what we do is when we get together on Monday mornings, we plan out our whole week on how we're going to ensure that we are monitoring and ensuring that our goals are in place so that we have some good data to come back after our CBAs. And so what each one of us does is we create a plan of what grades we're going to go ahead and look at those things. So for example, this week I have 4th grade. So I pull the teacher's lesson plans before I go into the classroom to ensure that it's aligned with our year at a glance and our pacing guide. And then I go into the classroom and ensure that what's on the lesson plan is the objective that's being covered for that day. And what's written on the board is actually the instruction that is occurring in the classroom. And so this is everything that everyone on that administrative team is doing, so that every teacher on our campus is having one walkthrough every week. And then we provide feedback to our teachers, either through emails or through one-on-one conversations, to ensure that those things are happening. Because our goal, our desired annual goal, is full implementation of our backward design model on our campus, and to increase within each cycle the percentage of our students that are meeting standards on CBAs, so that when we get to the last cycle and we get to STAR assessment, our goal is to increase that meet percentage on our campus. What we realized was that our gifted students are doing well, our Tier 1 students are doing well, but our Tier 2 and Tier 3 are struggling in academic growth. And so we had to come up with a plan that specifically was going to target those Tier 2 and Tier 3 students on our campus. And that's why we did a program and instructional analysis for our campus. Because, I mean, to be honest with you, it's like you can't keep banging your head on the wall doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And so in math in particularly, which was the area that our campus struggles the most in, we brought in our Bridges Intervention Program on our campus. We did a pre-assessment with every student using Bridges, and then we assigned them according to their levels to a specific teacher to guide them in that area of weakness that we've already noticed. And then we will monitor that growth at the end of every month, where they take a progress growth kind of measurement test to see how we're doing in math. Then we looked at our teachers were struggling with understanding the expectations of the previous grades. And so we have structured a whole process of both horizontal and vertical intervention, vertical team meetings. And so what we did was, you know, last year we would have 50 minutes of PLC. To be honest with you, by the time the students got to electives and the teacher got to the meeting room, we got 35 minutes in. And that was not enough for our teachers. So this year, the first hour and 30 minutes, hour and 40 minutes of the school day from 7:20 to 8:40, our teachers meet in a PLC and all those students go to an elective. So the schedule in our master schedule changes for electives each and every day, but it gives our teachers 70, 80 minutes to meet. Also on vertical alignment, on the first Monday of the month, all our English language arts teachers meet after school from 3:30 to 5. On the second Monday of the month, all our math teachers meet from 3:30 to 5. And on the third Monday of the month, all our science teachers meet. So this way they can collaborate and talk about the expectations both for the previous grade and where they should be when they get to the next grade. So that third grade teacher understands those expectations for fourth grade, right? And I think that was the breakdown there. They just weren't understanding, yes, we have the TEKS, but to what rigor do we need to teach third grade in order to ensure that when they get to fourth grade, they are prepared. And then one last thing is, last year, we were keeping up with data in data folders, and that was great. But what I have found is, in getting to know my staff, is that they are visual learners. And so this year, we created, I moved some stuff around, and I was able to create another classroom out of nowhere. And so we created a PLC room. So when you walk into our PLC room and you look up on the data wall, we have structured it where we have on our data wall all those kids that are on target, all our students that are just below target, and all our students that are in Tier 2 and Tier 3 on the board. And so that the teachers created the cards that go on our data wall. What are their reading levels? How did they do on STAR? What are their pre-assessments on any interim test that the district is giving? It's all on there. So that at the end of every 6 weeks, we can be progress monitoring every student on our campus. I think I talked so much. I'm sorry. I'm so excited about everything that we're doing on our campus. You know, last year was my first year on the campus, and as a first-year principal, you really don't want to make a lot of changes, although I understood that we needed to make some changes. And so, but our teachers are really buying into this because, one, I include them in all the decision-making on our campus. I sit in on the PLCs. We go over. I gave them input into creating our campus improvement plan. They participated in budgeting for our campus and deciding what we need for our campus. So having that, allowing our staff to be able to participate in all the decision-making for our campus has really brought some great buy-in for our campus. And so we're really excited this year. Questions?
Yes, I have a question. In
Yes.
regards to you were talking about the students that struggle in math,
Yes, sir.
are they going to be able to make a significant advance towards them being able to do well in math from where they were at last year?
Yes, and so what we're doing is, both with Bridges and as a PLC, is we do progress monitoring. So with the Bridges, we do progress monitoring every 2 weeks. And then at the end of a data assessment, such as a CBA or a unit task, we look at growth, because all our students are expected to write student goals in both reading and math. And so, and another expectation on our campus is, if our students are struggling in particular areas, our Tier 2 and Tier 3 students, we require on our campus to have parental meetings and parental involvement on our campus. What we're doing is, and what I told our administrative team and our staff is, when we do special events on our campus, I noticed last year a lot of our special events they're fun, they really are, but we also need to have some special events that target academics, right? And so a couple of weeks ago, we had math camp, right? And then we're having another math camp next semester, and we're going to be having a reading camp. And we're doing math wars. And so we're doing a little more extra, especially to target. And so for our Tier 2, Tier 3 students, we're reaching out to the parents to let them know how important it is for them to get involved in those extracurricular activities.
And I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned about the fact that you're trying to get teachers aligned, for example, a child that gets from 2nd grade to 3rd grade, so that teachers are aware maybe where the kids' weaknesses are coming into 3rd grade and how they can work together to improve that, maybe before they come or after they come? Is that
Yes.
what you're trying to do?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And so, because what we notice is our students were Tier 1 in 2nd grade, but then they moved into 3rd grade at the beginning of the year and moved into Tier 2 after the first 6 weeks. And so we need to recognize that in 2nd grade, what rigor of instruction, what TEKS do I really need to, what essential standards do I really need to grasp, so that when I start 3rd grade after 6 weeks, I'm not already in Tier 2.
Good. Glad to hear that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I don't know that I have a question, but the fact that it's a dual language academy, you kind of have a school within a school.
Yes, sir.
And I like the fact that you're saying you're setting a challenge for each student to set a goal for themselves, so that basically we have individual ladders for learning. We're not just saying, here's 3 or 4 ladders and you got to climb the ladder. It's everybody gets a ladder. We're going to help every person, no matter if they're dual language or normal, we're going to help them go up their ladder and get everybody in the place where they want to be. And your plan is very complete. And I think that we can do that with your attention and with everybody's cooperation and motivating the students. So if we can motivate your students in any part of your school, call on us.
Thank you, thank you. And so, and I'm glad you brought up that point, because, you know, that was one of the things that I emphasized with our science series, because we're doing a science fair this year. And so one of the reasons that some of our teachers were concerned about science fair, and what I told them is, this is an opportunity for Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 gifted, 504, RTI, no matter where we are as a student, to be able to engage in learning and create something, right? To create some excitement even in science. Because science was also one of those areas in 5th grade that we thought we needed some work in.
And I just wanted to say, I'm kind of one of those data people too, and I say that kind of almost in shame because people laugh at us. But one of the things I'm really liking is that you've made a visual of where you're going, where you've been, what you've accomplished, and you've named the children, so you now own them. So now it's personal, and I just appreciate that, because coming in from a healthcare environment, we do that with patients. We hand them off. And we hand them off with, here's where we are, here's what we've done, this is your next level of care. And I feel like that with the work that you're doing with the teachers and the grade levels all in one subject coming together, that's what you're doing. It's a continuum of care. And I'm just thrilled to see that. I'm excited about it. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Crespo is coming. Thank you, sir.
Good afternoon, President Neal, board members, Deputy Superintendent Martin. Through our self-assessment, our guided coalition, our leadership team identified 3 prioritized focused areas. The first area is developing instructional leaders with clear roles and responsibilities. We have a chart that includes our assistant principals, myself, our associate principal, our department chairs, and our instructional coaches. I know last year I came in and we had instructional coaches, but they had the dual role of instructional coach and department chair. And of course, my first question was, how is that working? And we met with the group and talked about it, and they were really excited about keeping that role. And I said, well, I'm going to have to see how that works. And throughout the year, I felt that it wasn't working the way it's supposed to work, because the instructional coach is so different than the department chair. So I told him, I said, I'll look at it for the year, and then we'll make changes if I see that it needs to be revamped. So this year we started off with instructional coaches for all the core areas and department chairs for all of our subject areas, and they have specific rules and responsibilities for their instructional roles on the campus. The rationale is so we will prioritize focus on the need for the campus administrators and teacher leaders to take on more responsibility as instructional leaders. This is accomplished by being visible in the classroom and the hallways. The administrative team and the leadership team will provide substantive feedback regarding instruction, planning, and professional goal setting. They will also train teachers in and model instruction and disciplinary strategies to improve student outcomes. So my expectation is we have power walks with that leadership leadership team on a regular basis, and we talk about what we're seeing in the classroom, and we share model, good best practices in the classroom, what we want to see next time we come into classrooms, and we talk about that. We meet quarterly, after every grading period with our leadership team and talk about things that we've seen. I've also had our administrators work on triads with their particular departments that they are the liaisons for, so they meet with that instructional coach, that department chair, every 3 weeks, and they talk about the department and what they've seen. The expectation is to be in those PLCs and that we meet every Wednesday. We have an early release on Wednesday specifically for uninterrupted planning time, and then our tested subjects have planning every day. So they have a common planning period, and they work on specific goals, and our administrators are expected to be in those specific PLCs every day and every Wednesday for the ones that aren't tested, so they can be a crucial component of that planning. And they're not just there to see that if it's going on and to kind of put a little check on the checkbox, but they're actually there to be a effective and collaborative part of that team to work together to see what we can do as an administrative team to support. The second area is recruiting, selecting, assigning, and retaining a full staff of highly qualified educators. The reason that we picked this one, this was kind of one of the biggest things when I first came. The first thing I was told was congratulations for being named principal, and the second thing was now you have to hire 3 math teachers. And I was like, okay. All right, and so we looked at the applicants, and I'm looking. I said, where do I find the math teachers? I said, well, you're looking at it. And there was this many. So that was rough, and so we had to do some soul checking and figuring out what we can do to help our students be successful. As we are all aware, our district and campus struggles annually to have all of our positions filled. Consistency is the key. With low teacher turnover, we will ensure the development of effective instructional practices promoted by the district and campus leadership team. This will allow us to grow capacity among our staff and create a closer community within our campus. It's difficult to compete with our larger districts that are closer to metropolitan areas, but with competitive compensation for hard-to-fill subject areas that even the larger districts are having difficulty filling, our small town and close-knit family values will be able to keep and attract more highly qualified staff for our students. I know I was told at one time we were kind of the higher paid district in the area, and now we're not. And so that's something that we need to look at, of how we can work on coming up with stipends or grants or something to keep these teachers here at Nacogdoches. We're bringing back the level of education and opportunities that NAC was previously known for, and as the famous saying says, if we build it, they will come. This has already started with a large number of new enrollees we received this school year, returning from other county schools they previously selected. But if we don't have consistency on our staff, they're going to keep leaving. And so we want to keep them here, so consistency is the key. The third area is objective-driven daily lesson plans with formative assessment. NISD has begun to focus on backward design as our instructional planning model, and it is still very new to many of our teachers. That was something that I came from a district that really focused on backward design. So I know it wasn't set when I got here, but we were already talking about it at the high school. And when I found out that we were going that direction, I was super, super highly pleased. So, but of course, we have to train our teachers to understand it, how to do it, what it looks like, and how effective it can be for our students. With the guidance of our guiding coalition, our leadership team, we will build capacity among our teachers to effectively plan for the instruction of our students, answering those 4 important questions. What do we want them to learn? What do we do if they don't learn it? How do we know they learned it? And what do we do if they already know it? So no longer will planning meetings be calendar meetings and role assignment gatherings to see who will be making copies and who will be preparing the test. So our teachers will work together to purposely plan their instruction based on the needs of all of our students, and we'll use formative assessment and data to guide their instruction. And that is our areas of focus. Any questions?
No, I just would like to thank you and the rest of the principals for being here and giving us this information that's very important for us to know as board members. And I want to thank you for your dedication as principals to ensure that every one of our kids in this district gets an education and make them the best they can be and have a success in their lives. So, thank you.
We didn't have much traction in the high school over the last few years. We've got traction now with your leadership. Let's keep moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Board, any more comments? Thank you, Dr. Crespo, and to Dr. Hill and the staff. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you, campus principals, for all that you're doing for our students and our programs. And just a couple of comments I want to make is that, first of all, appreciate the monitoring implementation of your plan, how critical that is that you monitor that. And all of you mentioned how important it is to monitor to make sure it's been implemented in and out of classrooms. One of the board members mentioned retention of teachers, and that's critical. And really appreciate you working with your teachers, engaging them so they can learn and grow. And you mentioned growing your teachers, and I really appreciate your effort to do that. That's critical to our program, and continue to do that. One of the board members also mentioned discipline, and really appreciate the positive reinforcement, working with kids to encourage them to be the best, engaging the parents. And so as a board, we just want to thank you for your efforts and your work and what you're doing to make a difference in our students. And please pass this on to your staff, your leadership team, your teachers, all the way down to instruction people. Your entire staff make a difference and making a difference with the kids. And so we appreciate that. Board, any other comments? Thank you. I have one question, board. Are there any objections to moving this item to the consent agenda? Do y'all have any objections? Okay. Thank you. Ms. Holly, we'll move this to consent agenda. Thank you. Board, the next item on the agenda is consider approval of competitive sealed proposal for transportation employment renovations. I'm going to start with Mr. Martin, if he would, please.
Thank you, President Neal. As Mr. LaRue makes his way to the podium, I want to express our gratitude to Mr. LaRue, his team, and Mr. Curtis and his team for doing a fine job of getting some proposals and drawings and bids out there for contractors to bid on. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. LaRue.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Good afternoon, President, board members, Deputy Superintendent. You have before you action item for $3,364,900 for the new transportation center. I'm happy to report that this gives Stacy everything he asked for. So that's a big step. I want to take a moment to commend Army Curtis. It's a pleasure to work with. Developed a fine project, worked with all the subs. We had good pre-bid meeting, good interest from contractors. We had one more that wasn't on the bid sheet who chose not to bid, but we had good turnout. Are there any questions I could answer?
Yes, sir. Is this the total budget for equipment, technology, and furniture, or just the building?
The building.
Just the building.
Everything's listed on the back at what we're doing. We anticipate reusing the furniture they have and the computers they have. So we just moved them to a temporary holding spot.
Could you talk about the timeline a little bit, for completion maybe, Mr. Curtis?
I'll bring Mr. Curtis up here to do that. We hope to get started the 1st of November.
Good. Great.
I know my timeline would be shorter than probably the actual contractor wants to be.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Well, we are anticipating with board approval this Thursday to be able to give a notice to proceed to the contractor on November 1st. And I believe we are giving them 270 consecutive days to get to substantial completion. So I think that puts us somewhere in August.
Next year.
Before I think that works out right. But we'll work that out with the notice to proceed. It'll state the completion date that corresponds to that start.
Great. Certainly needed. Board, any comments for Mr. LaRue on? We appreciate the work you've done and putting everything together, and we're excited what's going to happen to the transportation department out there. Thank you.
Mr. Martin, remind us, what was the total budget for this project?
Total budget for the transportation project was $5.4 million.
And that included so this put in on top of what we've had to spend for portables and all that stuff, where does that put us?
Well, this actually, on your line item sheet here, takes into account those portables.
Okay,
Oh.
does it?
It does?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I was.
There it is, lease repair, okay.
So it puts us at about 1.7 ahead.
So we're on the budget.
Well,
We're under budget
good.
on this project.
Just a reminder, we have a lot of other projects yet to come,
That's
so
correct.
don't
Don't get excited.
get carried away with that money.
But this is meeting every need that we had identified.
Everything we identified and put out there, it gives them a new bus wash, gives them a new fuel station, which is both diesel and gas, and the tank will be owned by us. Currently, we're a lease tank, which means we have to buy fuel from a specific vendor, so now we can shop the market. And it also gives them a canopy for their travel buses. Also increases their electric up to 3-phase electric. It's currently single-phase, so that's a big deal in the shop world. Brings the entire building will be on one floor. If you're familiar with the building right now, you come in and you have to step up into the main office. That'll all be ADA compliant the whole way through the building.
You do not expect any additional cost for this project? This will complete us?
I will plead the fifth on that and just remind you, this is a remodel rehab. We have a contingency, and I feel it's comfortable, and I think we'll be all right. But until we get the steel coming up out of the ground, and we haven't hit any, we get rid of the old fuel tank, and it's not a clean site, so we're not.
So everything you can see, you have planned for.
Yeah, everything we can
seen,
see
you
and
can't
not
plan
see,
for.
we have built into contingency.
Right.
I feel we'll be fine. We have been
Okay.
on, to date, we've done 4 or 5 bond projects already this go-around, and we've been at or below budget. So, I'm hoping that our track record is just as good. But with remodels, you do have a extra burden.
Now, will that change, for example, if the weather gets bad and you can't do the job and stuff, and prices for materials goes up? I mean, do we have that? Is that all
The
figured in?
prices,
or-
we don't have to worry
No?
about. The extended weather can be a problem.
Right.
And that's mainly from a time standpoint.
Time standpoint, not money.
No money.
Okay.
I would like to thank Mr. Curtis for his work on this and his diligence. I know it takes a lot of considering and planning, and you used obviously a lot of wise judgment in bringing this in under budget, and we sincerely appreciate that, especially looking at the other projects we have moving forward. So thank you, sir, for doing a job well and using our public funds wisely.
Thank you, board. And board, are there any other comments? Board, don't they? Thank you all. Thank you, gentlemen. Board, are there any objections to moving this item to the consent agenda for Thursday? Ms. Holly will move this item to the consent agenda. Are there any requests for future agenda items?
Are we having an executive session today?
No executive session today.
No executive.
Mr.
Do
Freeman?
we feel like we need to get together briefly to have some discussion then, or are we good?
We can just for a few, we can do that. Do y'all feel like we need to?
Yeah, I
get
think we
together?
should. I think we should.
Okay. The board will not conduct an executive closed session, discuss the items posted on our agenda pursuant to the following provisions of Texas Open Meeting Act as allowed by Texas Government Code Sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.074, 551.129. No voting will take place in the closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussions in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in open session. It is now 1:09 p.m. Thank you, board. The board is now reconvening in open session at 1:37. We need a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion second to adjourn. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
All opposed, we are adjourned. Thank you, board.